Hello everyone, welcome to Mathematics, and in this tutorial I'm going to be showing you how to add and subtract rational numbers. And in this tutorial we're specifically going to focus on fractions, and they're not going to be mixed fractions. So things that you need to remember when you're adding these rational numbers is that you need to remember that there's those integer rules that we've been learning. You have to remember when you're adding and subtracting any fractions, they need a common denominator. And then you have to remember that you need to turn fractions into improper fractions, especially if they're already mixed number fractions. So we're going to follow these guidelines or these steps on the side to help solve the problem. So the first step is to turn fractions into improper or proper fractions first. So if you look at these fractions, this first one is a proper fraction because the top number is smaller than the bottom. And the second one is an improper fraction because the top one is bigger than the bottom, or the numerator is greater than the denominator. So there's no mixed fractions, so we don't do this first step. Second step. Get a common denominator before adding, subtracting fractions. So this is the problem 5/6 minus negative 13 over 2. So it has fractions and it has integers in it. And so we have to be very careful of how we do this. So let's first focus on getting a common denominator. Look at the bottom. The bottom number 6 and the bottom number 2, they're not the same. They have to be the same. The way we're going to do that is we're going to find the least common factor among 6 and 2. And so we're just going to do our times table. So I'm going to do here on the side. I'm going to do 2. I'm going to do 2 because it's the lower one. 2, 4, 6. And then I'm going to do 6. I'm going to do 6's times table. 6, 12. Now, I just find the number they both have in common, and that is my least common factor. So in this case, it's 6. I need to have my denominator be 6 for both of these. So this 2 needs to be 6. This is already done for me. I already have 6 here. So let's go ahead and multiply the negative 13 over 2. I'm going to take this to the side, negative 13 over 2, and I'm going to multiply it by a number that's going to make the 2 a 6. So if you look here, I counted 1, 2, 3 on my 2's multiplication chart. So I need to multiply by 3. So 3 over 3 will give me the denominator 6. So the reason why I have to do again 3 over 3 is because you have to have a whole. You have to multiply by a whole. 3 over 3 is 1. So that would be negative 13 times 2, which is times 1, would just be 1. It would be itself. And so because of that being itself, that's why it has to be a number over itself. Because anything divided by itself, it's the same, is 1. So that's why we do this. So now we're just going to multiply across. So ignore the negative until last. So 13 times 3, that's 39. And then 2 times 3 is 6. Now, you just have to think back to your integers. A negative number times a positive number, so remember this is positive, is going to be negative. Different signs multiplied will equal a negative always. Different signs equals negative. So now I'm just going to rewrite my fraction. 5/6 minus, I'm just bringing those down, and I'm going to rewrite this in parentheses right here. So I'm going to rewrite negative 39 over 6. Now, what I'm going to do is, I am going to add my fractions, but I'm going to follow integer rules. So remember, when you add fractions, you keep the same denominator. So this is going to actually look really easy once you think about it. So I'm going to only add the top numbers. So I'm just going to rewrite all this on top of the 6. So I'm just going to rewrite it. I'm going to write 5 minus negative 39. I am giving that 39 the negative, and I can do that. So the negative can go with the 39. I don't have to give it to the 6. Now, because I'm adding fractions, I'm going to keep the denominator the same. So now it looks a lot simpler. Now I just have to simplify the top, okay? So all I need to do is do 5 minus negative 39, and we just think back to our integer signs. So whenever we're subtracting an integer, you're going to do keep, change, or adding the opposite. So 5 plus positive 39. So I kept the 5, the same sign. There's a positive sign here. I changed the subtraction to positive, or addition, and I changed this negative sign to an addition sign. Now it's 5 plus 39. And so when I do this, I'm just going to add across. So 5 plus 39 is 44 over 6. Again, my denominator does not get added. I don't add 6 and 6. I can't add them. The parts have to be equal when you're adding and subtracting fractions. Now I can simplify. 44 and 6 are both even numbers, so I can simplify these by dividing them both by 2. So 2 over 2, I can divide by that. Again, I divide by a whole. This makes 1. So 44 divided by 2 would be 22. And then 6 divided by 2 would be 3. So I could leave that as my answer, 22 over 3, or I could turn it to a mixed fraction. It's my choice what I want to do. But we normally leave it as an improper fraction. Now let's go ahead and do one more example, and now we're going to do another similar fraction problem, and now we're just going to do two negatives. So this problem, negative 3 over 4 plus negative 5/6. So we're going to follow our steps. Turn the fractions to improper or proper fractions first. They are already done. They're already done. There's no there is no mixed fractions. Now we're going to get a common denominator before adding and subtracting. Now let's look. 4 and 6, they're not the same. They have to be the same. So let me go ahead and do that. So I'm going to do my times tables on the side. 4, 8, 12, 16. And now I'm going to do 6. 6, 12, 18, 24, 30. Okay, now I'm just going to look for a number they both have in common, the least common factor. And I look right there. 12 and 12 are the least common. So I need to turn this 4 into a 12 and this 6 into 12. So I'm going to have to multiply negative 3/4 times a number and negative 5/6 times another number. So again, they're going to be fractions. Let's do it on the side. So I'm going to do negative 3 over 4 times whatever's going to make this 12. So if we look at our multiplication chart right here, our multiplication thing that we made, I can't think of the name right now. So anyways, when we look at this, we did this once, twice, 3 times. So 4 times 3 will make 12. So I'm going to multiply negative 3 over 4 times 3 over 3. And now again, I'm just going to treat it numbers separately from signs. 3 times 3 is 9. And 4 times 3 is 12. I'm just multiplying across. Now, a negative times a positive is always a negative. Opposite signs multiplied are always negative. So this will be negative 9 over 12. So that's my first one. Now I'm going to do the second one. Now I'm going to do negative 5 over 6. And I'm going to multiply, so that dot means multiplication. And I'm going to multiply it by 1, 2. Because 6 times 2 will be 12. So again, I'm just counting up until I get to that common number on my multiplication chart. So now I'm going to multiply the negative 5 over 6 times a 2 over 2. And again, treat your signs differently and your numbers differently. Multiply across. 5 times 2 is 10. 6 times 2 is 12. A negative times a positive, this is positive because I don't see negatives, that is a negative sign. Now I'm going to rewrite this whole fraction with these numbers, okay? So I'm going to keep that sign in the middle though. I'm going to keep that sign. So the negative 9/12 will go right here. And the negative 10 over 12 will go right here. And so there will be a positive sign between them. So I'm just going to rewrite them down here. So again, negative 9 over 12 plus, in parentheses, negative 10 over 12. Now I have my new fractions and now I can add them. So let's do the same thing we did above. We have now made a common denominator. Now we're going to follow the integer rules of adding and then simplify. So I'm going to remember again, I can just rewrite 12 and add everything on top. I'm going to give these signs to the top numbers. So that's going to be negative 9 plus, parentheses, negative 10. And now I just follow my integer rules. So if I remember, what is a negative 9 plus a negative 10? I'm just focusing on the top. A negative 9 plus a negative 10. When you have two numbers that are the same sign and you're adding them, they just get bigger. So it's just adding. So 10 plus 9 is 19. And then because they're both negative, it's a negative 19. And then I rewrite 12. My denominator does not change. And that is my answer, negative 19 over 12. That is how you add and subtract fractions with signs. So hopefully this helped you out, and best of luck.